Every time there's a story about a young woman who can take care of her own problems without help from some guy with a gun.
All of the NCISs.
How about, what about Hit Girl? And Kick-Ass, a pretty awesome movie.
And I also think that Buffy, you know, broke ground for films that we all enjoy now, like The Hunger Games and the Dragon Tattoo. I mean, she was the original female heroine, so now other girls can kick ass thanks to Buffy.
From being the badass, you know, bad guy vampire to being, you know, in the past shots where he was kind of nerdy, and then he kind of eventually became a good guy. We always loved him, but what was it like for your character to play those different roles and for it to change so much?
Yeah, you know, that's, I think, and Jen can maybe talk to this too, because, you know, actually the writing, I always say that the characters are defined more by what they say than how they say it. So, with that caveat, and what it looked like to me, and this is because Joss would come to me every season, about 3 episodes in, and he would go, "I have nothing for you, James. I can't figure out what to do with your character. I've got a story for everybody else, but I've got bupkis for you." Like, you'll think of something, you always do. But it always seemed like I was kind of being put in as needed. You know, like there might be some need in the series. You know, at first I was the villain who was supposed to die, so I was a disposable villain, and then I was the wacky neighbor for a while. I was supposed to be the replacement for Cordelia, who went over to Spike. Like the show needed a character to say, "Buffy, you're stupid, and we're all gonna die," right? And so that's why you saw me with a smoking blanket all the time, trying to get into the room so I could say that to Buffy. After 2 or 3 episodes, they were like, "That's not going to work," and I thought I was going to be fired, right? Because it doesn't work. I'm a horrible Cordelia. And then Buffy needed, you know, when she came back to life after she got recalled from heaven, you know, there needed to be some kind of plot where she was reaching out for some kind of life. And found drama and mistakes to be had in that, so she picks the wrong boyfriend. So then I was the wrong boyfriend, and they needed a guinea pig to save the world, so I did that, you know. But in the end, it all, you know, because everyone working on it was really talented, it all kind of stitched together and held as one character. So the ride tended to be a little more diverse than for a lot of different characters. And maybe Jane has a whole different thing about it.
No, I never looked at it from your point of view.
Yeah, right.
From abject ignorance.
Interesting. But the thing is, we knew we had this amazingly versatile character, largely because we had an amazingly versatile actor. So that's why we knew whatever we put in front of James he could do. That's why you were in that Hawaiian shirt. Like, we knew you could do it. So that was the gift he gave to us, and then the gift we gave back to him was like, "Okay, well now try this. Can you do this? We're gonna throw you this now."
You know, I was just talking to a producer that was asking me what I like to do and what I thought of the TV process and all of that. And I talked about my days on Buffy, and this sounds really cheesy, but it's what I thought was happening was that we were making love to each other.
You and me?
Yes.
You and me and Doug Petrie and Fury and everybody in one happy bed, babe.
James, I think a lot of people thought that about your character.
Seriously, that the writers would give their love through the script, and then I would give my love in the trenches. So I would get their love going this way, and then I would give the love in the trenches of the soundstage, and then they would see that love in dailies, and they would get inspired, and they'd give love back to me, and then I would get inspired, and we would just keep kind of going back and forth like that, and that's what I thought.
I just literally fucked my script. Hey Jane, I've got a question for you. So I had heard.
Nicholas, did you read this?
I wear blue. I should have worn that. This might be rumor, but I had heard that Joss wanted to kill Xander, and that the other writers talked him out of it and said, "All right, he's losing an eye." Xander said, I don't know if the fans will like that. Okay, well,
I don't remember that, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen
Yeah.
because I've got no memory. I can't imagine killing Xander. That doesn't.
yeah, that's what I thought too, but I did lose an eye though, right?
You totally lost an eye.
Bad, you're kind of in when it's in, and then you're out, unless you're James. But that was definitely my favorite. It incorporated a lot of stunt work, which I love, and it was just a great episode for me. What about you guys?
I guess for me it would be when we went back and saw what William was like before he was a vampire. It was one of those times when I thought I knew what was going on. Like, I just assumed this guy was a jerk before he was ever a vampire. Man, this guy was a punk. He was a punk rocker. Effulgent, exactly. And so it was one of those times when I was being taught, man. You know, like, no, he's not going to be a punk rocker before he was ever a vampire. We've got something much more interesting than that cooked up. And gave me a chance to really, and so I remember being offended, scared, and then ultimately, putting that wig on. And by the way, there's only one wig in Hollywood that fit my massive skull. And they had to put little slits in that just to get it over my freaking head. And then, and really just deciding to commit to it. And by the time we were filming it, the other actor on the set was from New York. I forget her name now. She was fabulous. But just having a really good time doing that and just falling in love with the character and feeling like I was going to fight for him and I would make everyone else love him because I had fallen in love with him myself.
Nick, did you have a standout episode?
A standout episode
Or
that
plot
I enjoyed.
point?
Plot point. Does Xander have any plot points? Really?
Seppo!
Well, any other episode, I guess. Yellow Crayon is one. I don't know. I think there's so many. I think the Snoopy dance. There's something. They're crazy for it. And I always, every convention I do, the Snoopy dance, and I will do. Like during my trailer, and there's this like DVD, and it says the Snoopy dance, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I pop it in, and it's like it's Snoopy dancing. I'm like, hey guys, what is this?
The
Snoopy dance is my biggest plot point.
Is that in the comic book? The Snoopy dance?
You gotta put it in. Is it in there?
It is now.
What about Georges and Scott and Jane? Did you guys have plot points that you guys really enjoyed working on in the comics or the show that stood out?
Well, I'm certainly selfish. I loved working with Jane. It's one of those things. There's so much lip service in Hollywood, and coming from someplace else. So here's some more. That you think, oh, they're such great people. They're such great people, but you meet certain people like Jane, and you work with them, and you realize, God, you are nice and cool and easy to work with, and it just flows. And we did a few things. We did a Harmony story together, and a Spike story, and a few little things, and it just. I keep thinking every time I was working with Jane, it was like butter. It flowed like butter. So every time I think of Jane, I think of butter.
In the comics, I think I really enjoyed writing the recent one with Spike on board the ship with the bugs. I really liked him naming the bugs, giving them all. On the show, I think Jonathan, the reveal of Jonathan at the top of Superstar is like, that was
From the show, I guess it's hard not to say the body. The body just pulls my mind whenever I think about that. And in the comic, I recently was writing part of the comic, and Spike is very angry with Andrew, and the two of them together, particularly with Spike mad at Andrew, it was just so much fun to write it. I just wanted to do reams and reams of more dialogue just because they sounded so good. Andrew like cowering and Spike just threatening to kill him constantly.
Last year I did about 5 episodes of Private Practice, and Shonda was a huge fan of Buffy, and in the episode where I ended up raping the lead character.
How was that one for you? That
No,
was a
she
hard
did,
one for me.
and it was, you know, I guess it's a show, I don't watch show, but they have a lot of music, but they intentionally did not have any music, and she said, I'm stealing this from the body.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking when somebody asked about like what came after that wouldn't have happened without Buffy, I was thinking, well, let's think about all the showrunners, people who were showrunners now who are huge fans of Buffy. Shonda Rhimes, Amy Sherman-Palladino, my bosses at Once Upon a Time, Eddie Kitsis, Ann Horowitz. Fantastic show, yes. Those dudes are huge Buffy fans, and so they incorporated the Joss style of storytelling into Once Upon a Time. So if you see anything there that feels like an echo of it, it's not just because I'm there, it's because those dudes are there.
Torchwood, same thing.
Yeah, yo, Russell's a huge fan.
Another show that I won't name, the writers said, or the lead writers said, well, we don't really know Buffy. We never really watched Buffy. We don't know Buffy. And then in an interview, I saw them talking about the big bad of the season. I was like, oh, come on.
Okay, we
My
have time
online
for
show,
one more.
Husbands.
Amazing.
We just announced that Joss Whedon is guest starring in the season of Husbands. And August 15th, you can see Joss in Husbands. Just Google the word Husbands to find the place where it lives online, and that is definitely the Buffy family continuing.
Yeah, and I just worked for you, Jane, on Capricorn.
That's right. Amazing. See, James, so good.
I quit acting, but I do make balloon animals now, and my successful actor friends hire me for their kids' parties.
Okay, I think we're ready for our quiz section of this panel.